Round of applause to you, Heat fans, because you helped me cross 1,000 followers on Twitter. I appreciate all the love. We didn't make it in the deadline that would have made me have to take a shot on the show, but we did cross there nonetheless. Continue to follow me on Twitter for more Heat coverage, more NBA draft coverage as well surrounding Miami, because we're on the road to 2,000 followers, and it all starts with 1,100 first, where we're 97 away. So follow me at Nick_Roloff. All right, welcome into the Heat Report by Chat Sports. I am Nick Roloff, and on today's show, we're talking about the big man from Indiana, Kel'el Ware. Should the Miami Heat have an interest in him with the 15th overall pick? He is a very intriguing prospect. We're going to talk about his pros, his cons, his scouting profile, what he did at Indiana, and how he could fit with the Miami Heat, as well as a pro comparison. So we're really diving in depth on our guy, Kel'el Ware, but I really don't know where he's going to go in this draft process. It could be at just outside the top 10. It could be in the mid-20s. He has a wide range of where he can go. But before we talk about Ware, I do want to talk about the biggest needs for the Miami Heat, because this is something we're going to reference a lot throughout this offseason as the Heat look to have a bounce-back year by adding one of these three things to their roster. I think the biggest need is a consistent scoring guard. You're hoping for that in at least one of Terry Rozier or Tyler Hero, but Rozier was unable to stay healthy. Hero does the same, and I think Hero just has not been able to be what Pat Riley in this front office thought he could be. We need a floor-spacing big man to play alongside Bam, but also back him up so it's not a complete shit show when Adebayo heads to the bench. And then the last thing is an athletic 3-and-D wing, because you're likely going to have to replace Caleb Martin as that guy off the bench because he is going to leave in free agency. So let's talk about Kel'el Ware, who could fill that number 2 void, the floor spacing big man. And he was terrific for Indiana this past year. He initially began his collegiate career at Oregon in the Pac-12 and then transferred to Indiana for his second year. And he put up gaudy numbers for the Hoosiers, 16 points basically, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks a game as well, and shot 58.6% from the field. Like, he did a lot for that Hoosier offense. And he also, Heat fans are going to like this one, and is the reason why I'm even okay taking him at 15. He shot 42.5% from beyond the arc last year. Now, it was only on 1.3 attempts a night, but it is at least promising that he showed the capability to be an efficient three-point scorer. Even though it was very limited, any type of three-point shot that can be developed and scaled to volume in the NBA is welcome, because I've always said I'm okay, and I agree with you guys that the Heat need to add more size alongside Bam and behind Bam. But he also needs to be able to shoot the 3 ball in today's NBA, and Kel'el Ware at least possesses that potential if he was going to be developed in this Heat system. So after looking at a very, very macro perspective of Kel'el Ware, we're going to jump into the nitty-gritty of him as a prospect in just a second. But on the outside right now, are you interested in Kel'el Ware? Not draft, just interested. Type Y for yes or type N for no. I kind of mentioned this off the top of today's show, but I really don't know where he's going to go. I've kind of been in the weeds here at Chat Sports looking at the NBA prospects, where these prospects are going to go, and I don't know with Ware. In my most recent mock draft, I had him going 12th to the Oklahoma City Thunder, but I could also see him slipping all the way down to like 22 to the Phoenix or something like that. Ware possesses elite measurements that make him a very intriguing prospect. He came in at the Combine at 6'11 3/4 without shoes. So when he's got shoes on, he's about 7'1.5". That's very nice, and that is welcomed in Miami, considering Bam, who is your center right now, is only 6'9.5" with shoes on. His wingspan, y'all know it, man. I'm a slut for wingspan. 7'4.5" is just terrific. You see a 4-inch increase. Chugs, you're killing me. You can't do this right now. 7'4.5" wingspan is terrific. 230 pounds, which that's good, but he needs to add more. But the vertical is very good for Kel'el Ware. A 36-inch vertical that ranked in the top 5 amongst NBA centers at the Combine. So he's got the length, he's got the vertical, and he has the ability to be a two-way floor spacing center, which is if you're playing 2K and you're building a guy, well, you might want to make the build of Kel'el Ware. Before we talk about his pros and cons, make sure you are subscribed to the channel because there is no better place on YouTube for Heat draft coverage. We're on the road to 12,000 subscribers, so hit that sub button because we'll have everything surrounding the Heat and the NBA draft as we're under a month away from the big day. All right, let's talk about the pros with Kel'el Ware. And I think the one we have to start off with is that he is just an explosive athlete. He possesses a rare ability to jump and then jump again. You call it that second jump or leap ability where he can go up to try to block a shot, come down off a pump fake, and then go back up again. Or if he misses his own shot, and on the jump and then comes down and is able to jump up very quickly on a miss and get his own board is something Zion Williamson possesses that makes him so dangerous. Kel'el Ware would immediately come into the NBA and be a disgusting lob threat in the pick and roll and on putback slams as well. And that long arm and wingspan that he possesses that we showcased at 7'4.5" would allow him to catch lobs that might not be the most accurate passes, and you'd also be able to corral some tough rebounds, which also makes him an elite rim protector because with that wingspan, he's able to contest and get his fingertips on some shots that he probably isn't supposed to be able to do. And you saw it with the numbers in Indiana, averaging 1.9 blocks a game. That rim protecting ability is something Miami really misses when he is off the floor, when Bam Adebayo is off the floor. And if you did play them together, the defensive fit would be intriguing because you could have Bam roam around, which he is so dangerous at doing, but he could also be that rim protector on the weak side. And then you have Kel'el Ware in the paint being that main rim protector. The fit there defensively is very, very intriguing. But it is all made possible because of that smooth-looking jumper that we talked about him having a little bit earlier in the show. Now, he only shot the three ball at 1.3 times a game, but it is smooth-looking. And if you watch the film, his misses aren't bad. He actually has a good touch as well. A lot of his threes that went in at Indiana a year ago would hit front rim, hit back rim, bounce up and in, or rattle around the rim, go up and in. What does that tell you? Well, it tells you that he gets a very good rotation when he shoots the ball. It's not sideways, it's not brick. That smooth end-over-end rotation allows you to get more favorable bounces. So when you see that, you can just continue to develop that jumper in a system that Miami has that is very, very good. Like, the Heat have one of the best developmental shooting staffs in the NBA. You see what you've been able to do with Duncan Robinson, Bam's improvement. You see Tyler Hero as well. Like, this is a good staff, and you get Kel'el Ware in there. He could only improve his three-point jumper, and I really like the potential of him scaling that to 4.5 attempts a game. It wouldn't be in year one. He'd probably only take 2 3-pointers a game in the NBA, but he could get to 4.5, 5 as he progresses throughout his career. More coming up on the Indiana Center in just a bit, but you have to be started with PrizePicks, the best daily fantasy sports app out there. Join more than 5 million users that are also playing PrizePicks on a daily basis. If you're looking for promotions, by the way, PrizePicks has got you covered every week, from lowering select player stat projections on Tuesdays, which increases your chance of getting a win, to getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. They have it all. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become a part of the PrizePick community today. You can do so many different entries, whether it's the NBA postseason, NHL, MLB, golf, MMA. You can also look forward to the NFL regular season. Yes, you heard that correctly. And the Dolphins are expected to have a high-flying offense, and I want a piece of that. More than on 27.5 Tua Tagovailoa passing yards, which would probably mean, passing touchdowns. That would probably mean Tyreek Hill catches more than 9.5 passing touchdowns. I feel pretty confident about that. But download the app today and use code CLNS to get a first deposit match up to $100. Or go and click on that link in the description and comments, prizepicks.com/CLNS, and use code CLNS to get a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy. All right, let's move over to the cons now with Kel'el Ware, because there are some, and there's no perfect prospect out there. There just isn't, right? We said this with Jared McCain. We talked about it last week. The biggest thing that I have an issue with for Kel'el Ware is that he is not physically imposing. And we talked about his wingspan and length, which that will at least put some fear into opponents, but you also need to provide some physicality. And there are too many times when I'm watching Kel'el Ware's film, and this is mostly on the offensive end. Never really saw him get bitched, if you will, on the defensive end, but when he's on offense and he's trying to back down his opponent, he struggles to do that. And too many times was I watching him try to do a post move when he's getting it post up on the right or left block, try to back down his guy, get to that right shoulder for the right hook, and his opponent would just not give any ground. And the thing that was the most concerning to me is that when Ware would try to either spin or get over his shoulder to that right hook, the defender would just give a nice little bump, nothing crazy that would draw a foul. It's a little hip thrust, if you will, into Kel'el Ware's lower body, and Ware would get thrown off. Now, he was able to finish through some of these contacts and bumps by hitting fadeaways and tough fallaways because of how long he is, and they can't contest his shot. But the easiness that he is getting bumped off his spot in the paint, not ideal, and it really is concerning to me that if he wants to finish non-dunk situations, he needs to be able to add some weight and finish through physicality. He also needs to develop an offhand, and this can be said for a lot of prospects, and no one's perfect coming into the league, but every time he tries to go and finish around the rim, it's either to his right hand or he's trying to throw down a dunk. Every time he dribbles left, he stopped and either pulled up for a jumper, he stopped and got back to his right hook, or actually there was a lot of times where I watched him drive left and then go up, hang in the air, and bring it back to his right hand. He's able to do that because he's so long and athletic. That's at the college level, though. When you're facing the same caliber of athletes in the NBA, that double clutch hanging in the air trying to get back to your right hand, that won't fly. The defender will either block it or a weak side defender will come over and get a good contest. So he's got to develop more comfortability by driving left and going to that left hook and finishing. There's also a little bit of a question with his motor, and this was one of the issues that he had when he was at Oregon, because a lot of the beat reporters were talking about he would take some possessions off, and that's not ideal. Obviously, when you possess the talent that Kel'el Ware does possess, you need to be working at an all-time high. And that's what has made Derek Lively so impressive for the Dallas Mavericks in year one coming out of Duke. He is playing at 100% all the time, pedal to the metal. So can we see Kel'el Ware have that same mindset in the NBA? You imagine he will get that beaten into his head from the Heat staff because Heat culture, but the motor is definitely something I got my eyes out for. One thing I do want to touch on as well with Kel'el Ware that does concern me is how he kind of disappeared in some big-time matchups this year. These are 5 games against some of the best defenses and physical teams in the NBA that really gave him trouble. Early on in the year, they played UConn and top 10 projected pick Donovan Clingan. 11 points, 8 boards, 2 of 10 from the field. It's not good. Then they played Auburn. That's one of the toughest teams and best defenses in college basketball last year. Okay, but struggled shooting from the field again. 2 of 8. Had to do most of his work from the free throw line. Only tallied 13 points. Then they hosted Kansas. Put up 11 points and 15 boards, but shot 3 of 12 from the field. Hunter Dickinson won that matchup when they were playing in Indiana. And then 2 games against Purdue and Zach Edey, they were nothing spectacular. The first time around at home, he only scored 5 points and 6 rebounds while shooting 2 of 6 from the field. Had a little bit of a better game going into Purdue, having 11 points, 8 boards on 5 of 7 shooting. But Zach Edey won both of those matchups in that game. Edey was just too strong for Kel'el Ware. So to me, those things do bring up a little bit of a concern. In the 5 biggest matchups, the 5 biggest games for Kel'el Ware personally this year, he just did not show up in the biggest guys. It's not the greatest thing if you're asking me. So let's get to our player comp for Kel'el Ware. And we're not going back much farther. We're actually going back to last year's draft in the 2023 NBA draft, because Noah Clowney, the big man from Alabama who went in the early 20s to the Brooklyn Nets, is very similar to Kel'el Ware. Length at 6'10", 7'2" wingspan for Clowney, a little bit in 2 inches bigger in wingspan and height for Kel'el Ware, excuse me. They both can stretch the floor, shoot the three ball, athletic, can protect the rim. I think the two are very similar. And, well, if you didn't know who Noah Clowney was, he actually played pretty well down the stretch for the Nets, including a massive win that almost helped the Heat when the Nets beat the Indiana Pacers thanks to Clowney heroics. I think Kel'el Ware and Noah Clowney are very similar. And keep your eye on Noah Clowney, by the way, for the Nets in his second season. If he remains on that team and isn't dealt for a veteran or an all-star type player, then Clowney's going to have a good year for Brooklyn. So after seeing the entire profile, if you will, on Kel'el Ware, would you draft him to the Miami Heat with the 15th overall pick? B, Pat Riley for me down below. Type D for draft or P for pass. And if you are drafting Kel'el Ware, the idea with this is that he could play alongside Bam at times, but as well as be the primary backup center. That is the potential with him. And I want to emphasize potential because there is a lot of room for him to grow and a lot of things he has to work on. But he can play alongside him. And Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer has actually comped Kel'el Ware to Miles Turner. A lot of Heat fans have wanted Miles Turner because he can space the floor and leave the painted area for Bam, but also protect the rim. That is the same idea with Ware. And if he's able to do that and able to put on weight, not be physically tossed around by bigger centers, and be a consistent jump shooter in the NBA, then I would absolutely love the potential fit with Kel'el Ware with the Heat at 15 and be the guy that plays with and behind Bam Adebayo. Now, before we get out of here, I do want to say I like Ware. He isn't my top choice, but I would absolutely consider him at 15. I still would remain more inclined to draft a Jared McCain, a Devin Carter, an Isaiah Collier, maybe even a Kyle Filipowski. I'm higher on Filipowski than others. Seems like the draft experts, not myself, are going more in the direction of Ware over Filipowski. I think it could go either way, but I am a fan of Ware. We'll see if that is the pick for the Heat at 15. One more reminder to follow me over at Twitter at Nick_Roloff. We can continue the conversation on Ware, other NBA prospects all the time. So give me a follow. I'll see you in the next video. Go Heat.